Just heard that clip. What do you make of how the defense is framing their arguments?
You know, this was a tough case from the beginning. To argue that a citizen's arrest justified the killing of somebody else is a very high burden for a defense lawyer to make in this case. I think that they're doing the best they can with the hand that they're dealt, but they know deep down that this is a very tough sell to a jury.
You say that's a high bar, so is this a clear-cut case in your opinion?
I think it is, because citizen's arrest was not designed to be used to pursue someone that you think is doing something wrong. It was really there to keep somebody when you see them doing something wrong, because the police haven't arrived yet. But it's not to give you the power to sort of go out there and look for a perpetrator. If you see something blatantly happening that's wrong, a burglary, a robbery, that's one thing. That was not the case here. They saw somebody by a construction site. That's just not enough to say, I'm going to be the police officer here until they arrive and make my own arrest.
There have been reports that a lawyer for one of the accused, William Bryant, sought a plea deal for him, but the judge denied it. This is according to an Arbery family attorney. If this is true, what significance does that have for the trial as we enter the final stages?
So the jury won't hear about this at all, so it won't affect their decision-making. But it is common in a high-profile, high-stakes case that even if a plea is tried to be entered, a judge will say, this must go to the jury. I don't want to be the one on the hook to say I close this out. This is better for a jury to decide, and it goes that direction.
Meanwhile, let's turn to another case. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on Friday afternoon. Let's catch our viewers up here. The 18-year-old was accused of killing 2 people and shooting another during racial justice protests last summer. He claimed self-defense. Rittenhouse, who was charged with 5 felonies, was found not guilty on all charges. The 12-person jury deliberated for more than 25 hours over the course of 4 days, and we're now hearing from the father of one of the victims.
We're still in shock that this is the outcome. We still can't believe it. He should have got about 40 years in prison. That was our expectation.
Now, Lou, you don't think the prosecution did a very good job in this case. Why not?
So, Jay, you and I have been following this case from the beginning. The prosecution's witnesses from the beginning were just a train wreck for them. You know, the prosecution, the government, has the burden of proof. If their own witnesses aren't going to be able to substantiate that this was not a self-defense case, then they really never had an opportunity from the beginning to get the verdict that the family wanted on this one.
How did they fall short then?
Several reasons. I think first, the prosecution failed to recognize that the jurors in this case live in that same town which was basically on fire that night. So they're looking at Rittenhouse and saying, this was somebody who probably was trying to protect our property, our community, our businesses. And in fact, there's a video of the police saying to him, thank you for helping us out. The prosecutor could not get over that hump. And I think that was an important point. As number 2, this is a kid versus an adult, right? Rittenhouse is 17 years old being chased by several adults, some of whom had a weapon, tried to hurt him. If he himself was an adult versus an adult, it might have been a different story. But when you have kid versus adult, that's a tough sell to a jury.
Rittenhouse was panned as a vigilante who came looking for trouble in Kenosha. From a legal standpoint, more broadly speaking, what does his acquittal mean for future protests? Will this end up giving impunity to someone else who may resort to violence at a protest while claiming self-defense?
Some are saying it will. I don't think it will. I think this was it's a case-by-case basis. This was a unique situation, almost a frustrating set of facts, because many people are walking away from this saying, how can somebody take an assault weapon to a protest? Some are calling it a riot. People end up dead, and there's no consequences to this person. It's a unique set of facts. I don't think it's going to repeat itself. I think there wasn't a charge that could stand for what people wanted Rittenhouse to be held accountable for. Self-defense was always there in terms of the murder charges, but going there with the gun and so forth as a minor, it just wasn't there to convict him on, and that's why he's walking out now.
2 very high-profile cases. Lou Shapiro here to break them down for us. Thanks, Lou.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
To Capitol Hill now, President Biden's social and climate spending package is facing its next challenge as it heads to the Senate. After months of back and forth between progressive and moderate Democrats, the House passed the legislation last week. Its fate in the Senate is unclear as Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia remains a wild card. He's repeatedly voiced concerns about the bill's cost. Democratic leadership, at least publicly, not expressing any worries about ultimately getting it to the president's desk.
When the government does big things, it's not easy.